Good afternoon. This was a shock. You weren't expecting this, were you? No, you were not indeed. Brighton 5, Leicester City 2. What went wrong? We were up within 50 seconds, really. We couldn't have had a better start. And it kind of peaked there, didn't it? Join me now, along with, obviously, Brad, and we will be looking at, Brendan's press conference afterwards and see how he reacted. And then Brad, in his own inimitable style, will be dissecting the goals. This is Leicester Till I Die TV, the match analysis show. Good afternoon.
It's time! Strap yourself in, because we're set up, switched on, and ready to go.
You are watching and listening to Chris and Leicester Till I Die TV on YouTube and your favourite podcasts. Your first choice for everything Leicester City. Tune in and join in now.
And now, here's your host.
Right, Chris.
All right, hello. Welcome back. So, you got a spare 10 million, anybody? What it's going to cost us, apparently. Costs us a hell of a lot more if we go down. A few hellos before we get started. Mike Green is in the house. Hello, Mike. Big up, like, share, and subscribe. Great mate of mine and great content creator. Cheers, Mike. That means a hell of a lot to me. I was in bed watching you last night. Now, I know that sounds extremely off, but it was an old show that I did. 2 words I'll say to you, Mike. Rod Fanny. Moving on, let's go to Ray. He's in. Hello, how are you? Terry, hi, Chris. So Dice says he sets out a team to best suit how the players play. I'm not going against him. But, I don't know. Look, the BBC have got Alan Shearer. We've got the good-looking one. Is it, Brad? Good afternoon, sir. 10 million spare by any chance?
No, unfortunately. I checked my account and it sent back request for 10 million. It just sent back LOL. So, no, I don't have a spare 10 million.
I've got a bank manager like that as well. Well, that's apparently what it's going to cost us. But surely it would cost more if we go down. And some sort of pundits out there say this team can't go down. The players are too blah. Nobody's too good to go down. Nobody's too good, And people will say, well, it's only 2 matches in. It's only 3 matches in. Only 6 matches in now. I am really seriously getting worried.
I mean, this is the trap, though, isn't it? Leeds suffered it. Newcastle suffered it. I suppose in a way, clubs like Blackburn thought they'd always be too good to go down. Southampton for a while. West Ham at one point, when they had the Canyos and the Defoes and the Canutes and the Lampards, they think they were going down. They saw a future for many a year in the Premiership. It happens. We can't sit here and head up our arses or be an ostrich, as one wise man once told us in the Leicester press conference. To the situation that is plausible. It shouldn't be with the quality that we've got in that squad, but whilst things are the way they are for whatever reason, and whoever's the more responsible it is, it's looking like it's Rodgers the way it's going. I can't see how it's not anything but still, something's got to change, something's got to give. And if it doesn't, then what are people going to be saying when Leicester have about 7 points and it's, the World Cup's on?
Yeah. You don't mean this, man.
You don't know the answer to that question, and I think you are an ostrich.
Yeah.
Maybe he knew more than we gave him credit for. I mean, look. Derby, was it 11 points Derby went down with? I mean, surely not.
Oh yeah, their side was shambolic. Their side was a whole 38 games of law. Because even when they won, it was just, you were laughing at them going, look at them, bless them. They've never felt that in their whole lives, some of these players at this level. But that was a dross side. That was a side that was always going to go down. It contained Robbie Savage for a start as captain. Martin O'Neill once infamously told his players not to pass to Robbie Savage on the pitch when he played for Leicester. Look, Marmite as he is, sometimes I think he's hilarious and sometimes he's back to being Robbie Savage. But nonetheless, that team went down rightly so. But this team would probably be up there more with the Leeds United and Newcastle shot because their squad was packed with quality. They had Smith, they had Duca, they had pretty much, scarily, the same sort of team that got them Europe, which is making it even more tense. History has a habit of repeating itself, and we can't get into that law of a trap that, give it a reggae. You can't worry about things. Everything's going to be all right. This club will stay up on paper. It's how long do you let that mentality sink in before these players don't believe it, no matter who's in charge, telling them they're better than what they are.
I was on Talk Sport on Sunday morning before the game with Matt Swishton and Barry Glendinning, who's the Guardian's football correspondent. So he's not, ridiculous. He's not, he's not the Sun. Let me put it that way. Whether you like the Guardian or not is up to obviously the individual. But I said about Leicester going down, and he went, look, for Leicester to go down, you've got to be worse than three other teams. And there's three other teams there that are worse than Leicester. And I'm thinking now, I don't think there is. Not when I look at that performance. And obviously we're going to study it in a second. But when I look at that performance on Brighton, I mean, yeah. I've done a piece today, as you know, without, let's blow my own trumpet. I write every Tuesday for the BBC Leicester webpage. And it's called Tuesday Talking Point. Please check it out. It's up there today. The headline for it is, I don't write the headlines, but they take the headlines from what I've written, is Taxi for Rodgers, no upward turn yet for the Foxes. On the first ever, well, not the first ever, the first TTP of the season, I said, supporters of Leicester will know it is a roller coaster ride following Leicester City. We haven't gone up that though, have we? It's just been down, down, down.
Yeah, it has, and it's not pleasant. We know what it's like. There is two things that give Leicester fans hope in this dire situation, and that is that if we can get enough performances, and I know it sounds daft and we should not be fearing relegation at all. I totally understand it. Right now, we need to look at our squad and we need to have that camp believing that this is a false position. In terms of that's nowhere near where Leicester should be. Their quality and what their ability allows them to on a football pitch is far better than sitting rock bottom of the Premier League. And if they can do that, even if they have a really bad season, and let's say we scrape up towards this 40-point mark, if recent history has shown us anything, you only need about 30-odd points to be staying up. That's probably, and I know that sounds desperado clutching the straws, and that's because I am right now.
Where we're going to get 30 points from, to
exactly,
be honest.
And if that's the issue, then there's only one man that you hold accountable for completely changing that mentality, and it's either one player, and you Ronaldo him, and you sit him on the bench, or you sack him, and it's the manager.
Yeah.
And when it gets to that point where we're even thinking 30 30 points seems a million miles away. This is probably crunch time, like you say, for Leicester, where it's probably actually more a necessity that they win half their next games. Just to get to that double figures, first of all. It'd take less double figures, but it'd get the ball rolling. And then, you know, win 3 out of your next 6, whatever, again, and do that. And all of a sudden, you know, it's a better light for Leicester. You know, as depressing as it sounds, if it is going to be Rodgers for the season, we may have to be prepared for, like I said, an Everton-Leeds style season of last season.
I want to say because we've often accused Brendan of not having a plan B. You could even accuse him sometimes of not having a plan A. But against Brighton in that second half, he seemed to have a plan B, C, D, and E, but the players didn't know what they were playing at what time. It's like after some of the team were playing plan C, some were playing E, some were playing F. I think somebody even got to Z at the end of the day.
I've said it numbers of times across a number of shows on this channel, and to show that I never waver from my point of view, because it's just getting even stronger. He's doing exactly what Ranieri did. And this is what I meant again by when I said he's a good manager, not a great manager, and never will be a great manager. Is when the proverbial hits the fan, he's overthinking everything. And Ranieri did that against Chelsea, that game that I infamously go back to, where we lost 4-2. And people might say, oh, Ranieri. No, look at the similarities. There was rumours of fallouts with players, discontent within some of the numbers of the camps. The majority were still happy, but there was discontent. We've seen that with Soyuncu not getting picked. We've seen that with how Fofana's treated the club. We've seen that with Tielemans happy to go for free, but also happy to kind of stick around because at the end of the day, it's a wage. At least he's doing it with some decorum, I guess. Casper leaves the dressing room. There's a lot of similarities. And you look at the fact that we made 3, 4, 5 tactical changes. He was making subs at half time and not waiting until the 79th minute to make 3 substitutions and hope they can do something in 11 minutes. He's getting desperate. That's what a good manager does, because he can't ride the wave, and he's hoping that he's got another wave in him and these lads can kick their asses into gear and it'll just fall in his lap again. And that's what we've got to make sure we don't make the same mistake, because we got away with it when we sacked Ranieri, because the guy who was his second in command was just a jolly fella. And I don't mean anything about his appearance. I mean, like, he was just jolly, wasn't he? Shakespeare always had a smile on his face. He always seemed easygoing. He was obviously clearly that best mate coach sort of thing. And they got away with that because he just went out there and did whatever he wanted to see and went, you know what? Let's go back to how it was, lads. You do you. And that's what assistant managers do when they're in charge for 3 or 4 games. We obviously took him on permanently, which was ultimately the mistake in the long run. But that saved us. Are we going to do that if we leave it too late this season? That's why people are struggling to see the 30, 40 point mark. It sounds like trying to win a title from here. It just sounds impossible. And that mentality's got to change. And it's either going to happen by hook or by crook, or someone else is going to do it.
Yeah, and like you say, I mean, looking at the games that are coming up, you know, you've got this. Well, I've sort of christened the sack derby against Villa at the weekend, because again, Barry Glendinning said whoever loses that, he thinks will be sacked.
It's on Sky, isn't it?
I don't think it is. No.
Well, I'm surprised that has not. I am surprised.
Well, yeah, it is. But it's on Saturday, and it's a 3:00 kickoff. So
I'm surprised that has not got a late change to Sky, just purely for they love a sack race. They love to advertise it. It's a derby. Yes. Both on that. I'm surprised for once that Sky or BT haven't seen the dollar signs on something.
Yeah, no, I think
maybe it's too late.
I think it's a bit late even for Sky to sort of change it now. But hey, you never know.
Hindsight's a wonderful thing as well, isn't it? But again, they do like to try and stretch out the derby for just derby's sake. And we have been on TV against them.
Talking of derbies, after Spurs, which I'm just writing off Spurs, and in fairness, I'd probably even consider doing that in a normal season. You know, we then got Forest, Bournemouth, and these teams are all only just above us. Palace, Leeds, Wolves before we faced Manchester City. But those games, Wolves, Leeds, Palace, Bournemouth, Nottingham Forest. That's the whole of October. All right, you've got Man City on the 29th. That's the whole of October. Those games are winnable games. And if we don't win those, it's not just the fact that we're not winning them, it's the fact that that gap between us and the rest of the teams is getting bigger.
Problem is, Chris, right? Let's go through these pictures with me in order, and I will tell you what I think will be the outcome for these games. Right. If you want to do something like that, I'll have to go through them in order.
We've got Villa.
And I'm going to go through these with Brendan at charge, by the way. I reckon that'll be a draw.
Spurs, sorry.
We're losing. Like you said, I agree with you. Normal season, we struggle anyway. I think we lose.
Yeah. We're then home to Nottingham Forest.
They're going to be more fired up and have way more confidence than us. We're losing to Forest. I hate to say it.
They are one place above us.
Yeah, but they still know how to do that. At Forest, you saw what the atmosphere was like.
It's so much. Oh yeah, I agree. So much pressure, and then away to Bournemouth.
Look at their turn of fortunes. They were 2-0 down. They were dead and buried.
Yeah,
a draw. I'll give us a draw.
Yeah, I mean they've won 2, which is 2 more than we have.
Yeah.
Then we're home to Crystal Palace.
A draw.
Yeah, I mean they're in 15th.
Yeah, but they can play good football.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying this is how close all these teams are.
Yeah.
Then we are home to Leeds.
We'll win that.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, Leeds. I mean, they're in 9th, and they're
drawn,
drawn, lost. They're a bit. Leeds are playing Forest at the weekend. That'll be interesting. And then we are away to Wolves.
And I think we'll beat Wolves.
But my worry is you can see. I mean, Wolves in 14th. They're all teams apart from Leeds. Every one of those and Spurs, obviously, but all the other teams are in the bottom half of the table.
Yeah, and I know people will be very disheartened by the fact that I haven't ever win until the last 2 games that you mentioned there. But with Brendan Rodgers at the helm and the way things are really looking now, this defender might be Superman, but that's a long shot that he's suddenly going to be the glue that holds Leicester.
Easy yet?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know. That's another hilarious cock-up, isn't it, by the club? We have a few clangers every so often. We all remember the Andre Silva. We're not Leicester if we don't make a transfer about something weird with it. But the reason I go with that one is we're just low on confidence. And I think we need a team that's bizarre, like Leeds. And I don't just mean their coach because he's American. I mean because of the way they can just not be there and just you have the easiest game of your life and they're abysmal. Or they could do what they did to Chelsea. And that's probably the only team I see it. I can see Crystal Palace being tough to beat. Bournemouth will want to keep a run going if they're on one, or they'll be trying to shut up shop. There's no two ways about it when you're Bournemouth with the season they're looking to have. And I can't see us beating them sort of teams, but we're wanting to not lose a game away from home. And I just think by the time it gets to that, Leeds will be right down in the doldrums and we'll actually pick a win, and then we'll have a bit of a knock-on effect from there before the Man City game.
It's just that gap that worries me, that gap's going to get wider and wider, and then it's harder for whoever does come in if we replace him, or if Brendan stays, it's obviously harder. At the moment, one win will take, if results go our way, one win would take us out of the bottom 3, but that's not going to be forever. Scott Singh, good afternoon, Scott. How are you? He loved my BBC write-up. Like I say, you just go to bbc.co.uk /Leicester City is the short one, and you'll see Tuesday talking point. And what he's referring to there, cough, cough, Martin O'Neill, is I said as part of it, everyone says what a good coach Rodgers is. For me, a coach makes the best of what he's got. Cough, Martin O'Neill. Yeah, I mean, because what he did with that team was amazing, But anyway, have a read of it. Have a read. And something that Terry's brought up here, and I'm just going to ask you about this as well, Brad. If I was the owners, I would be stalling the planning application. You have to start within 3 years. They have no money. Look, we're about to announce 199 million pounds worth of losses if the papers and the rumours are true. Should Tielemans be sat there still saying, "Yeah, I want to go for nothing"?
Oh, Tielemans can say what he likes at this point now. The window's closed. He's 331. We've allowed it. All right, we haven't allowed it. We've tried not to allow it, but we're now at a point where unless he's suddenly going to change his mind and go, you know what, give me that offer and I'll make sure the club gets something for me.
Yeah.
Which isn't going to happen. But
I must admit, I would respect him more if he did that now, because he'll still go. You know, he's got a minimum of get out, and if he's got to say, right, I can talk to any team that's got European football, so that's loads of teams, isn't it? Or 25 million. If somebody comes in with 25 million, I can talk to them. He will go for 25 million. You know what I mean?
Even if he's on extension,
and we get 25 million. I just think, come on, you know, let's be having you as somebody.
But stranger things have happened. I mean, Robert Lewandowski left for free. I mean, that was a little bit different. Bayern Munich were willing to pay Dortmund, and their own snobbery and took rivalry way too seriously. They turned around and said they'd rather lose him for free than take money from them. That's a whole different thing, I know. But big player going to a club, not getting any fee for him, you know, I know it's different because we'd rather obviously get a fee for him than let him go for him. But that's the bed that the club and Yuri have made, and you know, people may say he's a favourite of Rodgers. That's only an opinion. You right or you know, he might be, he might not be.
Because let's be honest with you,
but
if he's on form, he's our best player.
Yeah, but he's talked about players not having their heart and soul or whatever, and to not being 100% committed to the club. That, you know, Soyuncu's apparently on his way to Turkey, or is at Turkey. I don't know. I just saw that once, and I don't know anything more about it.
Last I heard, he was on a plane. So unless it's been
so that explains why he's not been making the team and not. But it does make you wonder why the performances on the pitch are so bad. It can't play Madison in the same team. Gerrard and Lampard-esque. But we have seen that if Rodgers is sticking by that word, and that's why certain players have to get picked up, why they haven't started, and why they're now no longer with the club, some of them. You look at it and go, why is his form so bad? Is it just that one coughing incident that I just mentioned there, or is it because he must be putting the effort into training, surely, because he can't surely be giving Tielemans any more special treatment, because it's starting to get a bit baffling, because it's like, well, if he's putting the effort in training and showing that he's worth, he's still getting picked, how come he's not able to perform like that on the pitch? And literally, I know I kind of say it a little bit tongue-in-cheek when I make the reference, but it does seem that when they both are on the pitch, they can't play together. And I wonder if they're getting each other's way unintentionally because of the way they like to drive forward with the ball. One's always waiting for the pass, and one's trying to get tell that person to get a shift into the box.
But they have played together, and they've played together so well that they won us through the FA Cup.
So then you go back to the system. So then you go back to the system, going right. So if that is the case, because we've got evidence that when they played this way, they played well together, then maybe the system is making it look like that, and they have to look at who designs that system. It's the manager. So maybe the answer is not as cryptic as people think where the issues lie. Yeah. And I've been learning that, but
But we will see what he does. Diego Costa, by the way, has been refused a work permit. Wolves were after him on a short-term deal. I would have loved to have seen him in Leicester Blue. I'll tell you, he would have. That would be the bite we were missing, wouldn't it? I mean, we wouldn't be getting a bit of a bite. We'd be getting a tank full of piranhas if he came over.
I think some players would be signing contracts out there.
Yes, it'd be Rodgers like enforcer, wouldn't he? Gray's in, LCFC, great, good afternoon. No, Rodgers is still here, unfortunately. Ray asks, why did we sell Fofana? Well, he wanted to go. We've moved on from Fofana. I mean, Soyuncu is baffling. When we were, we didn't want Fofana to go because we've got no defenders and we're now letting another one go.
I mean, you could say that does bring more, truth to the rumours that happened January of last season when his head seemed to go, didn't it? It seems that them rumours were more true than aspect. Maybe not Real Madrid as such, but there was obviously clearly a Soyuncu who didn't want to play for Leicester anymore and wants to move on to something else. So again, unfortunately, it feeds another excuse for Rodgers that you can't argue with. It's like, well, the reason I've been playing indeed is because Amartey was ill and Soyuncu don't want to be here. And it's like,
well, in fairness, he could turn around and say, well, everybody was moaning about Amartey, so I put Ndidi in there.
Yeah, he's unfortunately still getting a lot of wins. That are probably what he's using to keep himself a job. Because if he didn't want to use that as a job, he'd be throwing himself under a bus. And that's why I kind of think, if he's wanting to pay.
Ray saying a few people about there. As Mike said, they are appealing the decision. That would be a great signing. But let's see what happens with these. And we're looking at these figures and we're going like, bloody hell, But we've got to see it in context. You know what I mean? There's a lot of Is it a manageable debt, and from what I heard, yes, it is manageable. So we will see. See.
I mean, they can't come out and say it's manageable debt or show that it's going to be manageable debt if they didn't already know about this 195 million. So this must have been taken into equation when someone did these and worked it out.
Yeah, I mean, Terry's making. I had to read this twice here, Terry, because I was about to say what, but then I read it in full. We got it all wrong. The reason for our decline: 1 owners, 2 injuries, 3 CAGs form, 4 transfer windows, 5 and us fans. Any more excuses, Brendan? I mean, Chris Sutton is saying that this is like, and we're going to go on to Brendan's post-match conference after this one. But he's saying it's similar to what it was at Celtic. He wanted to get out. And I say, at the end of the day, 10 million, it's a lot of money. Obviously, it is. We know he's not on 10 million a year. Rob Tanner at the Athletic, whilst, it's not his place to say how much he's on necessarily. He confirmed he's definitely not on 10 million a year, far from it. But you've got to obviously balance that up with what we would lose if we went down, because that could be a hell of a lot more than the 10 million. Oh, you forgot one thing, Terry. You haven't got. Yes, he hasn't come out and blamed YouTube shows yet, has he?
No. Or the floodlights, or the grass, or the weather, or the dryness of the pitch. So it could be worse for excuse making.
It's when he sits there and he goes, you know what? I blame that Brad on Leicester till I die. He's always been so negative. Let's be honest with you, mate. You shit yourself, wouldn't you?
No, I'd be bringing up the cup saying, "Come on, then, Mr. Brandon. Let's me and you have it out. Let's me and you have a sit down and chat so you can motivate these players better. Because I'm sure shit I'll get all done."
Right. Well, we're going to have a look now at the press conference.
Oh yeah,
the press conference. Sorry, the post-match. Interview. This is the shortened version.
Yeah, I'm going to get my snoozing head on, mate, because I've heard this one.
Well, what I think I'm going to do is it's only 2 minutes long, so should we play the whole thing and then go back rather than keep stopping it?
Yeah, it might as well include the whole thing.
Yeah. Okay, let me realise that I can't press play on this screen. Let us go in and see what our esteemed leader had to say for himself.
Really hard afternoon. What do you make of it?
Yeah, disappointing result. I think the best team won. We got off to a great start. We just made too many mistakes in the game, and of course, you do that against a good team that play collectively well. Then it's a challenge. So yeah, all in all, disappointing.
As you say, you're 1-0 up in a minute. Is it down to exclusively individual mistakes after that, do you think?
Well, that's a part of it, and I think confidence as well. I think the team's obviously short on confidence at the moment, but no, we, as I said, we let them back into it too early, and then obviously made a mistake for the second goal. So yeah, just per goals we're giving away, and the players are fighting, they're running, they're working, but you can see the confidence a little bit low, and we just got to keep working to try and pick that up again.
In terms of the actual setup today, a shape that we don't see from you too often, I think it's fair to say, and you've gone with Patson and Kelechi up front. What was the thinking initially to try and attack the game?
Yeah, exactly that. Attack the game, thinking that they'll probably play 3 at the back, so you get 2 strikers up against it, and just have more attacking players on the field. I think that's an area that we've probably been short on in terms of creation of opportunities. So and both the boys scored, so that was really good. But I didn't think we kept the ball well enough. You know, in the Premier League, you have to look after the ball, and we gave it up too easy.
What messages can you kind of give to the team in the aftermath of a result, an afternoon like that, where eventually everything's gone against?
Well, you can only be honest and say the best team won, and we have to keep working hard. We've shown in spells that we can look like a good team, but you got to sustain it over 90 minutes, and that's unfortunately what we haven't been able to do.
You've got a rare free midweek this week. What can you actually do specifically to try and make sure that the Villa game next week is a positive?
Well, I think it's reinforcing the confidence. Go away and analyse the game and look at the mistakes that we've made and see if we can put it right.
Is that a psychological thing as well as application?
Yeah, it's very much so. It's a lot of application, and but of course, whenever you've lost 5 out of your first 6, then of course your confidence takes a hit as well. So we've got to try and get the players up there. Got to stay aggressive. Got to stay strong, and it's the hard yards at the moment. You've got to get through that, and that's football.
Yeah, I think you are probably right, Terry. Yeah, it will get round to me eventually. Mike said it there twice. I mean, I'm all for they were the better team, Brighton. Let's be honest with you. I did say Arsenal gave us a football lesson, and I'm happy to say that. To say that Brighton have given us a football lesson is a bit scary, but he certainly is bigging up Brighton. Not once, but twice. They are the better team.
Yeah, but I get that. Funny enough, I strangely do get that. Because sometimes, I can't remember who it was who was saying it. I think it was actually Frank Lampard, strangely enough. And it was weird to hear such wise words come out of that man's mouth as a manager. But he basically said that he found himself kind of shielding his players too much. And we know Brendan's probably gone the other end of the scale, especially after that certain FA Cup game against the Florist. But sometimes you can't just bail your players out and say, oh, we point out what we need to work on, where we lost the game. Sure, which is what he did. We know the problems are there. We know the confidence is low, and that's fine. But you can't get to a game like that. And we moan, don't we? We moan when we win a game.
I never moan. How dare you, sir?
No, you're obviously one of the very, very few that don't. My good friend. Go and check every post match out. Go and check every post match out. Yeah, Chris is right. Yeah. Anyway, but
yeah.
You threw me off what I was saying. Then what was I saying before you threw me off? We moan when opposition, like Pep Guardiola, when we beat Man City 5-2, we all moaned that he didn't give our club any credit. And you have to respect the opposition when they destroy you 5-2. It's very worthy. And I think sometimes you echo them words as a manager because you're making sure that you're hearing it in the dressing room and they're hearing it when they watch the back because his players analyse it. And he might even, maybe just to more fill his ego than anything and put himself on the screen, but he might reiterate them words. And he might turn around to players and goes, I never want to be able to go out in a press interview again and have to admit that they were better than you. And you should want that. You don't know what's going on there. Brendan's ego, he likes to show himself off, doesn't he? So he might be in there going, I don't want to have to say that again. I don't want to have to go and do an interview where I'm telling and fessing up that they were better than you and they played you off the park. We need to get this doing, right? We need to get our heads together. We need to get our heads out our arses could be a far better. And we don't know what's going on, what we don't see off camera. I know we get the training snippets, sure. Everybody's a coach all of a sudden, me, myself included in that, you know. But we don't know how he's doing it. It doesn't look great, and I can, you know, outside looking in, and and with how things are, it does sound concerning. But sometimes you can't mummy cuddle and then try and kid, and that's what Lampard said. He found himself realising that he was actually trying to kid these players that they were better than they were. That was the words he used in this video, and he goes, "I had some harsh words with them," and maybe he's just covering his ground. They're watching there. You know, analysing the players do these days.
Yeah, I agree totally. Just to say, guys, there's 50 watching, 4 likes. So if you can smash those likes, it would be very, very much appreciated. It does help the algorithms. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe. Brad's channel's in the description below, so make sure to subscribe to A Matter of Opinion as well. Gray says here, and I've said this, I've shouted this from the rooftops, he gets out-thought by any manager. I would sit there and go, because everybody said, oh, he's a great coach, is Brendan, a fantastic coach. You know, I'd say Robbie Savage on, you know, before the Man United game. This team would go down if it wasn't for Rodgers. Yeah, okay, Robbie. I would accept that Rodgers would get out-thought by Pep Guardiola. He'd get out-thought by Klopp. Possibly even Tuchel, but you know those managers. I would get that he's being outthought by those. He's been outthought. We lost to Villa last season. He's been outthought by a guy who was his captain when he was a manager. Yeah,
but people also remember for 2.5 years he was out tacticking and out thinking them players. The thing is that we've got to remember, and again, look, he's entitled to use every resource to give an explanation as he wants. Whether you think he's deflecting blame or not, it's his job he's got to look after. I'm trying to look at this as neutral as possible whilst trying to get a point across. So that's why I'm a bit callous with it. But he's also out-tactic these managers. But our club has, because we've realised it's due to how, you know, overspending or close to spending within a wage structure, that we are in a position where we've gone a bit stale. It's the same players that have been here for a while now, and yes, we moved Casper on and we're going to lose Tillemans, but they're still here, and you do need to freshen up that squad. You know, the thing is, we're forgetting that Graham Potter has lost players, but he's been able to replace them. We're forgetting that, yeah, Aston Villa are no longer the side they were when Gerrard got there with the transfers he's been making. All these other teams have been able to drastically improve. We're just caught in a period that isn't easy to negotiate for any club. Look at Arsenal for the last 2 seasons. We've been laughing at them. We've all enjoyed the Arsenal show, haven't we, every week? But now look where they are when they've got back where they said they were going to get. Well, they may have got there 10 years later than they were expecting or whatever, but they've got there, and look what they've been able to bring in to freshen up the squad whilst keeping the core of it, and now they're doing this season. It's something that might end up being shown in 2 seasons' time, Chris, where we go, oh, I guess it wasn't all Rodgers. It wasn't that easy task because so-and-so's got us 14. You know, hindsight's a wonderful thing, and maybe it is a new manager that gets us up to 7th this season and everything's hallelujah. But eventually these players are going to get a little bit older. Eventually certain players are going to move on. We're always adapting and changing no matter who you support. And even Man City are doing it. Doesn't matter if they're spending 100 million or 10 million. In a time when they're always changing, but they're still keeping that structure. A Gundogan, you know, until recently Sterling. You know, until he moved Aguero. They're the, you know, some of them are still, I know Bernardo Silva and Gundogan are still there, but they're still evolving and adapting. Just because they've got more money than us doesn't mean we can't. And we have to accept this might actually just be a really crappy period as a Leicester fan, and it's still not that bad if we can stay in the Premiership. You know what I mean?
I know I am, and like I say, you and me both know. You know, we're very good. We are the two devil's advocates in a chat.
Yeah,
It's got to be,
otherwise,
otherwise,
mate.
yeah. Otherwise, you'd have a chat, do you? Let's be honest.
Exactly.
I made the point on. I'll say it again. BBC Sport Leicester page, Tuesday talking point. Have a read of it, and I made the point there that you make the best of what you've got. Martin O'Neill did that. Martin O'Neill won't be standing for this. Now, whether that is he's not got the money to bring players in, and yes, it was different times then. I get all that, but you know he's played two up front, both, and it's his words there, and they both scored.
Yeah.
Will we have two up front? We'll probably go back to one up front. It's his way or the highway, but his way isn't working. And you said about Arteta, but Arteta's got them better and better each season. We have got worse and worse each. He came in and it was like brilliant.
You can't say we've got worse and worse because we've gone fifth with extra silverware, further in Europe, but the league position was 8th, and now this season it's had a very good high. But that's when we were still always getting excited by signings. We were still firing diamonds. We were flourishing. This has been a couple of seasons now, and I don't think we brought anyone in last January. So we haven't made a signing in terms of today's modern football. We haven't made a signing in 2 windows, and that's a strain on the squad that needs to be constantly, freshening up and strengthening up all its areas. But maybe this is what Leicester fans need to look at in the future, right? Soyuncu won't be here. Tielemans won't be here.
Let me ask this question of you then, Brad. So, with this big refresh, the players up. I know. I mean, for example, Scott's a big one for refreshing it up via the youth system. We had a guy who scored for us in the pre-seasons. He's been sold off. We've suddenly stopped seeing the youngsters coming through. We had them, and now we don't. Now, you could say we're throwing them into the Lions pit if we start them now. But
no, I think our youth product's still been bringing them through. Brunt's on the outskirts.
Outskirts. I've not seen him really. Has he been on the suspect?
He played for us. Lewis Brunt. He's been on the pitch. He was the one that made his debut against Tottenham in that defeat.
No, I'm on about this season. Sorry, mate. I'm on about this season.
I understand
that. Have disappeared apart from all I'm saying is that can't we refresh the players that we've got with new ideas and not confuse them so much that it's. I read somewhere Brendan has taken this side from a counter-attacking side to a more possession-based side.
Yeah, it's like I say as well. I said it in the last match previous to you that because it kind of an idea that was churning away in the back of my head throughout the show, and I kind of put it into words eventually, as I so willfully do. But I feel that Brendan has made his plan B now his plan A, and the plan A, which was that high press counter attacking thing, is what he switches to when it's going wrong. I mean, one thing I will say, which I didn't realise, so I did a bit of delving it myself, is he mentioned in the interview that he expected Brighton to play 3 at the back, and they have been playing 3 at the back. So, for whatever reason, maybe Potter was like, we've played X amount of games with 3 at the back. Let's not make it obvious. Leicester's the perfect opportunity to turn it up because they'll be expecting 3 at the back. Let's change it up. And it worked wonders for them, obviously. I just think maybe he needs to go back to making this hold the ball and defensive thing plan B, and let plan A run its course for two goals and use that to see out a match. Because when he was doing it that way, Chris, you remember games when we were 2-3-0 up and Ricardo was doing juggling acts in the corner and next to their keeper and everything was fine and dandy. It's only been when we've been trying to do that at 1-0 up with 80 minutes played that it's gone wrong. And maybe, it's just a rebalance. But I do wonder if maybe the refresh for this squad at the moment is a change in personnel. And that's why Brendan's going to lose the job, regardless of what he does. Because he's tried everything in one game and it got worse and worse over 45 minutes.
Yeah. I agree. I agree totally.
Rick Manager said you should get points at half time. I like his idea. He's a smart man because we were too all at half time.
But then, from what you just said, then we're back to, he was thinking Brighton were going 2-3 at the back. Are we worrying too much? And it's almost like Claudio Ranieri's back. Are we worrying too much about what the opposition are doing? Not only Ranieri, but Pearson. Do you remember Pearson when we won that championship to get promoted? We smashed virtually every club record going, and a lot of championship records as well, number of wins, away wins, and all this, that, and the other. You could in that season have said, right, we're playing Burnley in 10 games time. You could pick that team because you knew that team that was going to be out. We then got promoted. Probably one of the worst things we could have ever done is beat Man United 5-3 because it went to Pearson's head. I don't know, but joking aside, we were changing that team every week. Somebody would come in, Pearson would pick somebody, he would score maybe a couple of goals, and then we'd never see him. We wouldn't see him again for a couple of seasons. For a couple of seasons, a couple of games. You look at the team when it was announced and you go, bloody hell, Nigel, who have you picked there? Why isn't so-so? He scored a couple of goals for us last time. I just think are we? Let me ask you the question. Are we worrying too much about the opposition and not concentrating on ourselves enough?
I mean,
that was a long way round. I'm sorry, that was a long way round.
I know what you meant.
Question.
Yeah, no worries. I know. I picked apart the question as you were saying it. Don't worry, mate. It can be, but football's a game of chess as far as it comes from manager's perspective. In terms of you do all your research, you get as much information on your as possible, so you can be prepared for as much as possible that without a surprise being thrown into the works that you can't prepare yourself for. You're as many moves ahead as possible for the slightest change. So you're prepared for them to line up with a 3. You look at their last 7 or 8 games and you realise they have lined up with a back line of 4. So you do work on that as well, but you prioritise the main tactic. You prioritise the main formation. You look at their lineups, and if the players change a lot, but the shape really doesn't, you're not really worried about who's on the rule. That tells you as a manager, they're all given the same instructions. If the lineup depends on the shape, then you pay attention to that. You have to pay a lot of attention to it. I think what it is a case of is we're focusing the right amount of attention on our opposition, but we're not focusing that same amount on ourselves. I think it's a bit of both. We're not doing enough on our own work, and we're doing we're not doing too much, but we're doing enough for the opposition, but not enough for our own. And that's another thing that needs to be balanced out, because if you just kind of completely switch the focus and just focus on you, everything is Leicester, it's our lineup and that. I think that's what maybe we're doing wrong, because how many times have I now started to gestally say you should rename us obvious FC obvious of Leicester, because we're really obvious. We attack down one side, we're slow, methodical. It just feels like you need to just focus on the both and get that balance right, because if you focus on one or the other, depending on position, you're going to be obvious to deal with. And you're not going to know how to compare it because you haven't worked on it on the training.
Yeah, you're right. The word that we use very often with Brendan is stubborn. And we saw that last season with the zonal marking. As fans, we can see in a game, and therefore I think if we as fans can see it, why can't Brendan? And I'm no great tactician, don't get me wrong. I could do and explain it like you do in the post-match shows. I'm completely leave me standing with that. So you know better than I do. But we sit there and we go, Marty's not doing very well. But he sticks with him. Luke, I would say Luke Shaw then, that's wishful thinking. Luke Thomas got absolutely ripped one against Man United. Oh, well, let's stick with him against Brighton. I mean, we can all see this, and Castagna, you know, I know it was 2 games in a week, but the younger players should be able to handle it. Why the fuck is he so stubborn?
It's just his personality. Managers are like that. Every manager has a different sort of trait. You talk about managers like, they're not the most popular, granted, some of these, but you talk about managers like Roy Hodgson, my Klopp that wants to get involved there.
Yeah, welcome, Klopp. Welcome, Klopp.
Yeah, you know, Southgate and managers like that. You know, Hodgson, Southgate, and a few others. They're people pleasers. They have a trait as a manager. Sometimes you get a Alex Ferguson, an Arsene Wenger that commands respect. You know, they become a manager that commands respect. They have their unique approaches. They had a trait. The airdryer treatment became infamous for that. You know, before the boot slinging days and the pizza gate fiasco, you know, every manager has a way of doing it, and some managers are less willing to do it because they're more of a tactical manager than they are a coaching manager. And you can have that, which is why these managers tend to have a right-hand man in they trust that follows them everywhere they go. They always bring the colo with him, don't he? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that could be it as well. He could just be stubborn that his tactics should work and it shouldn't matter your quality. You can adapt. We talk about one thing that we did like about Brendan is the fact that he's making players adaptable to playing more than just one position. And that's great. That's great. And over time, and it takes longer than it does to improve in a natural position because, closing the question, it's unnatural. And it's going to take a couple of seasons for these players to be able to be adaptable to these positions and play them both just as well. And that's great, but you can't expect these players to just do it like that. You've got to integrate it. And I think Rodgers wants to do that, but he's too stubborn to allow it to happen over time. He wants it to be done, and he sees it best that you just do it as hard as, you know, you just do it, chuck him in at the deep end. Now, if he's got kids at a swimming pool, he's chucking them in the deep end and saying, you know, sink or swim to his children. I feel sorry for his children in the swimming pool when they were getting taught as kids, because I bet he was stubborn enough to do that sort of antics instead of easing his children in and giving them armbands to float, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But that's just a trait manager has, and that's a trait that Brendan Rodgers has always had. So it's not like we should be totally shocked that he's this stubborn.
No, we're going to look at the goals in a second. One very last question before we do move on to the goals is we're hearing the same excuses every time. You know, I mean, yeah, he's coming up with new people to blame. I'm sure sort of Molly the tea lady is looking over her shoulder nervously as we speak. But it's, you know, we're making too many mistakes. You know, we didn't keep the ball well enough. It's the voice of a manager fighting a relegation battle even this early.
I mean, it is, but not because of what he's saying. It's more because it's repetitive, and the reason it's repetitive is because the mistakes haven't changed. You know, what he's saying isn't trying to get himself.
And that's his job to change it.
Yeah, and that's where the problem is. That's what I mean. It's not the verbal way he does it. It's the fact that it's not the fact that he keeps repeating himself for me. It's what he's repeating that's worrying, because it's like, well, I'd actually rather it be a different excuse every week, so we know that it seems like that's progressed. But it feels like you said, it's like, yes, week 72, I've heard we can't pass the ball well when we're close together, and we're getting each other's way, essentially, because that's what they do. They keep getting in each other's way on the pitch, in movement, because of confusion. But hey ho, let's do the depressive.
Interesting to see Bayern Munich being linked with Harry Kane.
That'd be funny.
That we'll have to see. We will watch that. We will watch that with interest. Well, the goals, and there's plenty to look at. Unfortunately, not in all our in our favour. No. Welcome along to David. He is a Brighton fan. Welcome in, mate. Nice to have you in. And he said McAllister's disallowed goal just seems wrong, even if it was offside. I mean, I don't think it was offside. If they've got to take it was 4 minutes.
Foot. It was a high foot. It wasn't offside. It was a high foot. Just in the according to the reasoning by VAR, by a referee, I can't remember it quote for quote, but this is what happened. James Justin, I believe it was impacted in the way he was defending the original ball because of a high foot. James Justin had to change his heading and trajectory, which meant that a high foot incident interfered with a natural movement of play. Had that foot not been risen, James Justin wouldn't have had to duck and realign and make them transitional movements.
Right.
And would have naturally had more heading power away, so it was classed as an obstruction. I still agree with the Brighton fan. It robbed us of an absolute goal of the season contender, and I'm going to spoilers alert for those that haven't seen it, if it is on this one. But that is the letter of the law, what cleared it up. It wasn't an offside decision. Make that what you will. I'm just explaining it there for people.
No. I have to say, I didn't realise that. I've got to be honest with you. And well, you can't argue with it, can you? Then but it was an amazing shot.
I felt sorry for him because it would have been goal of the season without a doubt in my mind, and it would have been he'd have got a hat trick as well. And I can't believe we're saying this about a player who did it against us, but you do in football, don't you? You do sometimes feel sorry for opposition when it's like that.
Brighton playing blue and white. Let's just sneak us.
We want some. No, we're bottom of the league. Let us steal your positivity a bit and fake it for ourselves, please, Brian.
Gray says there before. No, I was going to be the last point, but Gray's made a good point here. Indeed, in Ward arguing bad sign. I mean, to me, that was Ward. It was nothing to do with Indeed. I mean, I've seen this a couple of times with Ward, and I'm not saying he's a bad goalkeeper. Casper is not having a good time at Nice. I don't think he's kept a clean sheet. So let's not jump on Ward. But he didn't control that ball. And he's done that a few times, I've noticed. Is when he's taking the ball back, he doesn't control it.
No, but every goalkeeper has a weakness. I'll tell you, being a goalkeeper myself, I really struggled with I never bring it up, but I struggled with off the ground goal kicks. So every goalkeeper has a Achilles heel. I was one of them goalkeepers that went centre back, off you go. I ain't taking that. Every goalkeeper has a weakness, but indeed he shouted at Casper when he was in goal and he had to play centre back. It's just what they do. They don't like having things going wrong, and when you bottom the league and your confidence is low, your fuse is also a little bit short. Take that with a pinch of salt.
Yeah, exactly. Title winning teams argue. Players will argue.
Yeah. I wouldn't have been surprised if Ward was saying, "Why did you do that for?" And he was telling them, "I'm not centre back. That's why." You know what I mean? He's probably could have been something as simple as that. But,
right, we'll look at the goals, and we will do. I'm sorry, if anybody, for all the Leicester fans, I apologise, but that is the point of the show. We'll do it straight.
You are watching and listening to Chris.
I won't. That was the wrong one. If anybody missed it yesterday, though, we have now started a new Women's Super League show. The first one was yesterday. Lou wasn't able to make it, and I do hope, I send my best wishes to her friend who was involved in an accident. Hope things are going well there, Lou. Fingers crossed for you. The other co-host for the rest of the season, Maisie, was on. We did some predictions about where the teams would finish. Watch it through your fingers, Leicester fans. That's all I will say. And hopefully we'll be doing a watch-along this Sunday because it's the first game of the Super League, the Women's Super League this Sunday. We are away to Everton. This is the one I meant to say.
Matt Elliott here.
Hi, Alan Smith here.
Hey guys, Ian Hume here.
Hi everybody, Jerry Taggart here.
Be sure to watch
Chris and Leicester Till I Die TV
for all the latest Leicester City news and information.
You can also subscribe on YouTube and various social media channels
for the latest updates and news on Leicester City Football Club.
Come on, you foxes!
Do what they say, please. Do subscribe to us. David says, I can quickly say I have no family members who are goalkeepers. But anyway, it all went very well for 50 seconds, Brad. It looked like my horse wasn't even warm in my seat. Let's have a look at our first goal and how it came. The fact that we were playing two strikers, and they played well together. Here we go.
I think that shot Brighton.
The ball at their feet, and it's played forward now. Barnes edge of the area. He slips it left to Daka. Daka low ball across. It's going to be a tap in, and Iheanacho scores. Barely a minute gone, and Leicester City have the perfect start at the Alex. Into Gross.
I wasn't sure whether they're going to show it again. I can replay it if you want to, but yeah. I mean, Brighton's defending there. We caught them asleep. It was almost Leicester-esque, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was a very lovely surprise, and that was a great game. Well reviewed the goals there, mate. Because that's how it finished. Oh, no,
it was. 89 minutes to go. Even the most optimistic Leicester fan couldn't think that we were going to defend for 89 minutes.
Yeah, very true. I mean, just looking back at that goal and seeing it again there, just reminded me you're actually spot on with Leicester because, and I don't want to make you have to drag it backwards and forwards to find where I was. But just where you see the ball go across, for the first time I think this season, when we muster it back here, first of all, I haven't seen us play. To pause it there, I haven't seen us play that aggressively going forward by cutting. But what you got? Have I? Can you see me? How about now?
You're back now. I thought I'd paused you rather than the game there.
No worries. But this is what Leicester have been lacking, but I know Barnes has just distributed the ball to Daka on the left. But all I see here is by driving forward at their defence like we did there, we kept pressure on them. Look, we have the two players in and around that 6-yard box all ready to do the damage. And that's something that Leicester have missed, and they missed it throughout the rest of this game after that goal, realistically. They stopped the press. Like here, look, they've got the rebound ready. They've got a rebound ready. They've got 4 players in the areas that we're used to seeing them. That positioning by the players there stops the goalkeeper doing what he's trying to do, which is come out and collect it. He can't do it because he's got his own player obstructing him. He's got a Leicester player to watch out for in case they manage to get a touch because he's dead. He's beaten. They haven't got time to get someone back in cover that front post in time. It's in a dangerous area. If they clear it low, I think that's Tielemans is in acres of space to drill it straight back across Sanchez. They've got somebody picking up a scramble if Iheanacho missed it to put it in. That was Leicester back to what they used to do. And if you want to show Leicester what to do, play the first 53 seconds of that game and say that's what I need you doing for 90 minutes. That goal.
The other 89 minutes and 5 seconds.
Yeah, that was it. That's the review done, Chris. No more goals, thanks.
Yeah. I mean, the guy. I don't know if it shows when I do this. Does my mouse appear on the screen at all?
Yeah.
So you can see this player here.
Yeah.
I mean, we should sign him up, shouldn't we? He'd fit into our defence perfectly.
Yeah, very static, and that's what allows whoever it is coming at the back to run in behind it. And then, not Daka, the person that we see might be him. I saw in the replay, but someone ends up behind Daka, not Daka, Nacho at this point.
I think it's Barnes moves across, doesn't it?
Yeah, moves across just in case there's a save or something happens where it comes back out to get there, which allows.
No, you're right. There's a player coming in here.
Yeah. And because he's flat-footed, that defender, and again, that's because of Nacho's position. If the pass goes a little bit astray, he's got time to recover and get in front of Nacho if he's got a stretch for the pass. But he's also trying to wait for someone to go past his shoulder so he can cut out anything there. And because of the way he angles his run to go behind Nacho, that's how the goal comes about. And like you said, mate, it was a walk down memory lane.
Yes. Yeah.
For a goal for Leicester.
I think that was a good, first minute. It lasted for 9 minutes, and we do seem to concede a goal very quickly. I think 9 minutes is probably the longest we've lasted. But as I was saying there about that Brighton player, not picking up Inacho and him being there. Just flip it over to the other side.
It's going to be a tap in, and Inacho scores.
Let's just enjoy that for a moment again.
And Leicester City have the perfect start at the Amex.
Great.
Crosses again, high in towards Welbeck. Past him, all the way to Trossard. Lifts it back in again towards the far post. Heads go up, and it's in. It's 1-1. Converted at the far post there by March, who was stealing in. And Welbeck.
So, there, Brad. What we were saying about, the Leicester player being unmarked. Who the hell is picking this player up? Who the hell is picking that player up there?
Yeah, it's a good question. And again, we go from one defensive fail to the other, like you said. And the problem is you've got the 4 Leicester players there that are making that little inverted T, sort of. You've got that. I know I'm pointing on my screen as if you can see my giant finger.
I know. I was just thinking then, I need a magic pen.
Yeah. So you've got. I can't even see the numbers. Give me a second, mate. Let me see if I can see who they are. You've got Evans, Ndidi, and Samare making that sort of 3 triangle way. And whoever's pulling away from them there to try and close down that cross across the goal is way too late. And the problem with how that defensive line stood, so you know who them 3 players are I'm on about, don't you?
Yes, yeah.
Right. So the reason is they're caught between zonal marking and who's responsible for what duty. And by the looks of that, Evans is like, well, I'm stopping anything going in behind. Because as you can see, the Brighton player on the far right of the screen, that's just got into our box on the far right of it, in between the 2 Leicester players. Evans is watching out for that ball that we inevitably scored from, so he can't drill it across the goal because he's in front of the defender that's nearest to him, and his pure position is going to make it difficult for that player to get in at the back post. He's that last line of defence for anything that goes directly across it. What needs to happen here is Wilfred Ndidi needs to be tight to that defender. Bakary Samara needs to then be pressing to the edge of the 6-yard box, because the Brighton defender to the left here, on the left-hand side of him, that's got, I think, Barnes near him, he's going to get picked up by that. He's following him. And then I think it's Justin. I'll say it's Justin for the sake of it, or whoever needs to be, like you said, needs to be pressing him. He needs to be already at him. And I think that indecisiveness mixed with what comes from having a low confidence is they're not quite sure of their role and job in split decision things. Dead balls we've been a lot better at. I know we conceded one this time, but we'll analyse that last, funny enough. But this is the parts, that little indecision, that split-second doubt and reassurance, because you feel like they go to do their job and then they look just to make sure they're not leaving their responsibility, and then it's too late. And that's something that these players need to stop, and that's that doubt in the back of their mind, because you can see it here. I wish, this is what I was saying to you earlier, I wish we could do this, mate, where we were Sky Sports in it and I could circle and move them around.
While we are talking, I'm looking for an Epic a pen download, and I downloaded one, but they don't tell you till you download it that you've actually got to pay for it.
Oh, brilliant. But it was lovely to do it like this for this sort of thing. I'd love to be able to do that, because then players just need to shift ever so slightly forward and left, and they're in the perfect position to stop that from happening. But this is the problem with the confidence being low, that doubt creeps in, and that's not helping our defensive frailties from these sort of areas.
I mean, they said here, Mike, Trossard has the whole of Brighton. David said, look at the space Trossard has to drink. And mate, talks in Football versus Cancer. Check it out, guys, on Twitter and on YouTube as well. It is all obviously regarding the charity. We want football to beat cancer, so go over there, sub to his YouTube channel and follow him on Twitter. Gray says, and I will check my Twitter in a second, mate. LCS said, closing down is a joker to our club. Yes, it is at the moment. But you see what I mean, though? It's like, it's almost sort of the same, isn't it? Because it's not being picked up.
Yeah, it's not. And again, this comes from that defensive frailty, that lack of uncertainty that opens that up. And it's not an easy fix problem mentally to do, and it's something they're going to have to overcome as a squad. And hopefully the damning assessment of this game that's been worked on since Monday is there, because it is very static and standstill-ish, and that is, the red flags, as if you will, of a side that is lacking that cohesion. I'm not saying a trip to Dubai, don't do a Celtic or anything like that to sort it, but something does definitely need to be worked on in that case, because we've been doing that so many times. I nearly even scream and shout it in the press conferences. How easy is it that we're making any team have the easy option of either running to the byline and drawing the ball back 10 yards? Because the thing you do when you're out of confidence as well, and you're searching desperately trying to stop them having even a half a chance, let alone coming away and creating a shot at goal because you're so worried about conceding, is you find yourself ball watching. And that also helps cause the slower reaction, the indecisive movements by the defences, because they kind of fight their own brains in these situations, because they want to get rid of that ball. They want to clear that ball. They don't want Brighton having a shot, getting themselves back in the game. No, they want to control this game. They want to get another goal if they can, and they want to win this game. And when you're low on confidence and you're already second-guessing your own movements and your job in that second, you're leaving these gaps all over the thing, and you're going to get picked apart. And that's exactly what we saw, with a lot of goals this season, but definitely through that one.
And if we're looking at it there, I mean, there's two strikers, but there's two defenders and a goalkeeper. I mean, in fairness, Thomas was unlucky, because, I mean, it came off him. It could have gone the other side of the post. I do think Thomas was unlucky with that.
Yeah, he was. And when your luck's not in, I mean, do you remember that Tottenham game 4-3 where Schlupp scored the own goal trying to clear it? When your luck's not in, that also just adds to it.
Indeed. Right, so let's have a look. Then they went 2-1 ahead. Surprise. Not. So let's have a look at how this... I don't want to mute. There we go.
Far post, heads go up, and it's in. It's 1-1. Converted at the far post there by March, who was stealing in.
And Welbeck's in there, and then Wepo also providing good support.
And he's coming forward here, straight through the Leicester back line. He's got a long line in Wepo. He's gone right, and a chance. It's in for 2-1, and Moises Caicedo has...
What can you say about that one?
Now, this kind of hurts a little bit, but whilst Leicester got caught out, like watching the mirror universe, wasn't it? Because that's what Leicester used to do to opposition. We saw it with our goal. They pressed the mistake. They caught us out in numbers. The defence was stretched. But this is the difficult part. Danny Ward is too cautious. And what I mean by that is, yes, he has to be prepared for what is the most expectant thing in that outcome. And in that outcome, there is you'd probably find there's actually 55% chance that the person is going to shoot the ball and not lay it off to Mwepu like he does, or Seydou, Moises Seydou, whichever one it is. Sorry to confuse them, Brighton fans. I don't mean to do it. I just muddled in my name with the names and whatnot. You're 45% of you is expecting to pass it off as a goalkeeper, and Danny Ward is too rigid towards the first option. And what I mean by that is, yes, you have to be expecting that he's going to have a shot. He's got the ball at his feet. He's the one that's going to... Right now, he's having a shot if he gets any closer. But as a goalkeeper, if you make yourself too rigid, you instantly give that player the knowledge that he's too straight on. Right, he's not going to be able to adjust in time. If I can get a passing quick to the goal scorer, or the person who inevitably scores the goal, that goalkeeper is going to be off balance. He's going to be too weighted on one side. He's not going to be able to cover a drive across. As long as he does that with the ball, we're scoring here. And that's exactly how this plays out. Danny Ward is too front on. He's too rigid. And it's one thing that he does need to work on. And what I mean by that, Chris, and the best way is Danny Ward and your Moepu, or whoever it is who originates the ball, he's too dead on. What he needs to be is about 2 or 3 yards earlier, and he needs to be spreading himself at a slight angle. So he's still technically facing Moepu and expecting the shot, but he's almost going, I know if I'm on my toes and you go to hit this across me, I've got you covered. But I've also kept my strong holding leg here, so that if you make that pass, I'm already able to turn. And that's something that Casper did, because that allows him to be on the front foot and close that angle down. And what Danny Ward doesn't do by being too rigid is he can't do that. He cannot make that movement. He cannot spring onto his strong, dominant foot and get out to Saedo or Moepu, whichever one it is that scores that goal. I'm pretty sure it's Moepu, but correct me, Brian, if I'm wrong. And he can't make himself look big. All Danny Ward's able to do is angle himself and position right. And that goal looks massive to any person, let alone if they're a forward. It doesn't matter if they're a midfielder or defender. That shot across goal is thank you very much, because you're too tight to your post, you're too tight to goal, you cannot stop it. You know, we had our discrepancies with Casper, and I'm not going to bring that up and say anything else, but I'm just making a comparison of where Danny Ward needs to improve, and that is make sure you've got your balance right, because he's so balanced one way with his weight. You can see his positioning. He's just throwing himself hoping he goes to his near post. He knows he's getting beat across goal, and he was beat, and that's why and how he was beat. What he needs to do going forward, he needs to make sure he's got that leg that's there for emergency only to sway that weight back over. He's got to preempt what's his second best option, and his second best option was laying it off and doing that. Because if he does that, he can twist and go forward, and he's already 5 yards closer to him, and all of a sudden Saedo goes, crap, and that's when they hit it straight at the goalkeeper and he saves it.
But looking at this here, I mean, the breakaway that they got
is exactly what Leicester love, to be on the end, up their end.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what this guy's doing here. Oops. I'm trying this magic pen, and it keeps saying you need to do a free trial, and I'm not sure.
Yeah,
but it was knife through hot butter time, wasn't it?
Yeah, and if you're going to look at it from the full basis, the biggest problem there is that it's literally what I've alerted to in the last clip. He's ball watching from, I believe it's Thomas. I think it's Luke Thomas that's ball watching there. And again, if it is Luke Thomas, that also adds some naivety to his age. But what he's trying to do there is he's seen the ball go into the middle, and he's seen that Leicester are 3-on-2. So his brain and instinct is overruling his footballing logic, and he's going towards the ball. And in a way, he kind of gives it up, because he gets halfway through, and it's like he realises he's made the wrong move. The guy that was casually going past him was the guy he should have been sprinting to get in front of. It's too late, and there's nothing he can do, because the goal scorer is now 15 yards in front of him, and he's now just running for the sake of running, because he's not defending. He's not doing anything that's a benefit to Leicester, unless the ball was to cannon off a defender, and he's lucky that he's there for a breakaway. He's now not affecting the game in the way he needs to be. And again, I go back to that confidence. You're so eager to, get rid of that ball that all you see is that ball. And that's exactly what happens to Luke Thomas. I believe it's Luke Thomas again in that. People correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what happens to Luke Thomas in that scenario. He's getting dragged towards the ball because that's what he's so desperate to stop happening, that he's completely eradicating that sense of going, you're there, you're an option, I'm having you out, I'm doing my job. Because that then, just to kind of sympathise back to Danny Ward, that makes his job easier. He shouldn't realistically have to be doing that, what I demonstrated with my actions there, and made a very load of clips for you to probably use against me at some point. But, you know what I mean? He doesn't have to worry so much about the possibility of that as well as the shot, because Luke Thomas hasn't drifted towards the ball. He's come and trapped back and covered. And, that kind of completes the puzzle of what's going wrong with Leicester and the combination of what's leading to these mistakes of goals.
Yeah. David's just saying who scored there.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure because I know they were both involved in that moment.
I may or may not have a pen working now. This is going to be interesting. If you fancy a game of noughts and crosses, it could be coming up. Let's have a look at the next goal, shall we? I'm going to take the sound off here just because of what it is. But here's the next goal coming up, which of course was a Leicester goal.
Yeah.
Some would say that was hoofing a ball. Some would say it was route one. Others would say it was a lucky pass. Which way would you read that?
I would say some would also say it was reminiscent of the 15-16 season. Brighton were a bit lacklustre here. I think they maybe fell into that mind trap that Leicester have started to collapse. This is going to be a bit of an easier afternoon. Maybe we can play it at a lesser tempo. And they were a bit casual here. The gaps between their defence showing their frailties. And I'm sure other teams that they've got to play in the future will note this and maybe look to exploit it because it was very particular trend. For the 1 minute and 17 seconds that Leicester did anything really good, and I said that a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but the two goals are about that equivalent. We did do the damage and show what we at least attempted to do and what happens to that when we get it right, because Daka's forever using his pace, he's exploiting it. We had him a little bit stretched, and again, like I said, caught them a little bit flat-footed, a little bit lackadaisical. Maybe they were more expecting what became after this goal in the second half. They were going to get 3, 4, 5 in the first half.
And that's not worked, has it? That hasn't come up at all on your screen.
No, it's not. I can't see anything, mate, I'm afraid.
Right.
Just I can see the screen, but I can't see you're not drawing anything. Sorry.
This is what is the point of this? I give up. Can I give up?
Yeah.
Right. Let's go back to. There we go. Let me try it this way. Maybe we want to do it this way. The wonders of modern technology are always beyond me. But when you look at these here, there we go. You still can't see anything, can you?
No, it's just a frozen screen on my end. Nothing's changed.
Right. Well, as you look at that, you've got to say 2 defenders, 1 striker. And I'm going to praise Daka because we can't always blame the defence. But he stitched the defence up. I mean, he just took the ball well. He finished it well. They should have not been troubled by that, should they?
It looks like on paper, but there's 2 promising things from this move that if you get to watch it like this, you actually get to appreciate it. First of all, Daka's positioning. He's looked at the stretch and the gap between the recovering right back or other centre back, and he knows what's in front of him. And the key thing about that is the person that's the biggest threat to him, between him and the goal and stopping him having a one-on-one, is doing what defenders hate the most. He's running back towards his own goal and facing it whilst trying his best to keep an eye on Daka. Daka knows he's got the pace and ability. It's why we signed him to beat him in a foot race, hands down. And because the other defender, chasing back, has to cover that ground before he can even give the idea to chasing Daka down and catching him, he knows he's in a prime position. There's more than 10 yards between them. It's just a matter of the ball being spot on from Tielemans. And people might say, oh, yeah, but the Brighton defender who fell over. That plays detriment to the fact that he's been forced to run at his goal and look behind. He's not having the comfort of having his back to goal and being able to see clearly what's in front of him. That is what the likes of Vardy and Daka dream about before they go to bed. A ball like this being played right in front of their toes, and the only thing they've got to worry about is the defender. And they both know they're beating every defender on this earth in a foot race if they've got a slight head start. More so for Daka because he's younger, and I'm sure Vardy might not say that about every single one. But the point is, the way they play the blistering pace, sit on the high line, it's a perfect thing for him, and it's played perfectly by Tielemans. And we've seen with even the greatest defenders we've had over the years, when they've been doing that sort of job, watching the ball come over the top or whatever, what do we always see, Chris? Your instinct is to throw something at it, and your body instinctively throws a leg in the air. There you go. There's another clip for you to use on with Strictly auditions. Throws a leg in the air, falls on his arse, and again, you gift wrapping it, someone like Daka on a plate, that sort of goal. So yeah, credit to being alert and aware to what was around him, and this maybe shows that what happens when we get it right. This is why he's so stubborn to keep it this way, because this is what you call zonal passing, and that is Tielemans' instinct is Daka, I've spotted him first out of everybody, he's going to make a run, I'll play it to him. Because if he doesn't zonally try and put it in that channel, he might pass that out wide and try and build it. He instinctively clocks Daka, he's on board and making the run, so he knows from what he's been told in training, if you see Daka sprinting, play the ball to him. And you see that with where we get passes wrong. Some players passing the ball before a player's even moved into that position. And then you're like, oh, he's passed it 5 yards in front of him. Oh, he's passed it behind him. Zonal passing. Passing to areas and not directly. And this was an example of that zonal passing, as I call it, actually coming off. Because it's instinctive to pass it there more than it is progressive in terms of how they build it up when they're playing a slow passing game.
But I mean, like you say, it's very stubborn, but it works. So we know that we're not going to see it next game.
Yeah, of course. You know that. Vestergaard will be in the team next week, so it'll all be a joy to be picked up weekend.
No, please, no. Right, let's have a look at the next one.
I like it to all.
Yeah, end it now, says Trump.
Yeah.
He took it well.
You see it there. And we've seen him. Every goal he scored for us, minus probably that tapping at United, was done through that method.
Yeah.
He loves them sort of.
We have to make that decision now about Vardy. But here we go. Second half, Leicester had the ball, got pushed off it. Now, how many attempts to start? I mean, he just walked. They walked through our defence, didn't they?
Yeah, it did again and again. The reason we hear Brandon say the same excuses is because it's the same frail problems, and unfortunately, it is frail problems. That it's not for a lack of commitment. It's the fact that they're feared in a way, and we do see it sometimes in the more zealous and maybe the more creative players, Dewsbury, Hall, and Madison most notably, that will go in on a slide tackle, but the rest of the squad aren't quite. They see a card go to one of them, they think, oh, maybe I shouldn't risk it because if I get it really wrong, we're going to be down to 10 men. And they want to get involved and they want to stop them doing it. But do you know what I saw a lot of them? I thought a lot of them had a nervous twitch or something, or were trying to do the can or something, because all they're doing there is with a leg, dangling a carrot to try and do something about it. And again, they're indecisive. It looks indecisive because they stick a leg out and then the person who they're trying to stop, maybe take a quick shot because they're out of position, is now 2 or 3 yards more that way, and now they've got to cover the gap. And that, you're putting yourself behind on order. You know what I mean? You're allowing queue jumping essentially to happen, and all of a sudden, it comes with ease. I can't really say the same as what I said about one of the previous goals with Danny Ward there, because he's trying to stop 4 goal scorers in that situation. I don't blame Danny Ward or anything for that. I can't expect him to come out and initiate that, because that shouldn't have even been first choice, let alone third. Let alone what he was thinking.
I mean, taking this stage by stage, here's where we lost the ball in the tackle. I'm not sure again. You can't tell who it is on here, but just going on there, that's where we lost it to start. And then we failed to make a tackle once.
Yeah.
Twice. And then even now, you know, and I think that's Johnny Evans there. His first thing is, let's you know, put my hand up for offside. You can see he's well onside. But again, you've got all down this side here. You've got 1, 2, 3 players. You've got
again, Chris. Just leave it there. Yeah, not only that, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'd even say whoever that is on the furthest right, 7. Maybe there's more there. I can't really tell with the kit and the lighting, and obviously you've got it on a bigger screen than I have. Used my phone. They're all doing exactly what I've already stated.
7. No, we've got 7 players.
Yeah, they're ball watching, and they're indecisive again because you look at them tackles. They were desperate tackles, and the player just the frame before, where you see it may even be turns. I don't know, but somebody is body and eye is straight on the tackle or the attempt at a tackle from one of our players, whilst his legs are twisted towards the player that's on the left-hand side of him. That's the frame before where the tackle that didn't come in and the referee plays a slight advantage. And it's that the fact that a player is standing in that sort of position where their body and, you know, face is straight on at the instant that's happening in front of them, but the legs are trying to tell them you need to be over there because there's someone to the left of us. The indecision is just it's so hard to tell. It's not hard to. It's so hard to see in terms of watching and see it happening in front of you because you can see the indecision and lack of the ability to make that decision like that because you have to do that in them moments when you lose a ball. And Leicester, you know, the reason it feels so far beforehand is because Leicester would have pressed that out. Leicester would have been pressing that out. No worries, no looking over the shoulder, no worrying if Johnny Evans is picking up his man or busy picking his nose or whatever. You know, you had trust and faith in what you were doing. And now because you doubt yourself, you doubt your teammates. You think, well, if I don't doubt myself, maybe they're doubting. Maybe they're not doing their job. And this is something that is the immediate fix that needs to happen, and it needs to be found a way to do it because every goal has followed every single pattern. They're all ball watching, and you only do that when you're not sure of your job and you're just watching and saying, oh, I mean, look at some of the positioning. The 1, 2, 3 players, Johnny Evans and the 2 to the far right of him, they're nowhere. Johnny Evans is technically probably just about getting away with saying, well, I'm the last line of defence if he drills it across goal. But no one's on that back post for the drill across goal. We can see that's what they're aiming to do by the way they go into it. They're almost doing what they're told and going like, well, I know I need to be here because I'm a defender, but please, God, don't let that ball come to me because God knows what we're doing with it when we get it back in this situation. We don't know what to do. They're not used to being the defensive team. They're not used to doing that, and they should be. They've been doing this long enough, but look, nobody goes towards that back post. They're all so worried about where the ball's going to go because they're so used to goals being conceded across their own 6-yard box, being picked off at the back post, being picked off by a trainer. They're so nervous on it. Evans is nowhere near where he should be from where he was then. Evans should be on the goal line. The person next to him is even further embarrassingly back. He should be on the post. And then the one that's the furthest away should be tracking any runner so no one's there to follow it up if it does get deflected or palm it out.
Yeah.
It's so glaringly obvious, and it's just something that's coming and is being rearing its ugly head from this lack of confidence because there is 3 defenders that could stop that ending up in the back of the net.
Yeah.
Just by being that, and then this doesn't need explanation.
Yeah, I'm going to say that. So I just thought I'd play that. I mean, unfortunately, it doesn't go with the tackle, but
yeah, it's silly defending from a non-defender that gives away the penalty. No blame to anybody there. It's just that was the nail in the coffin. They just got sick and twisted and put another 2 nails in the coffin afterwards. They couldn't have left well looking around at 3-2. And you know what? The LCFC commentator said that. Even before this goal, the one that we haven't been able to see because it was ruled out. I mean, I can understand why Leicester fans would show. I'm sure Brighton have it on their channel to watch it. So, you know, but even Matt Elliott said these words, and it's sad to agree with him in this case for what he's saying, not because Matt Elliott speaks nonsense or anything. I'm just saying because of what he said. He goes,
Yeah.
Even when that incident happened and it was ruled out and it was back to 2-2, he felt the game were lost. And that's the sad and really, really concerning thing to take away from it. Because the second they're sitting there, did you, Chris, did anyone else listening or watching at home think we're going to get back into this? Or did they think, that's it? That was important.
No,
that was
no, I couldn't see us. Because we literally, like you say, we just... Yeah. I mean, Josh made the point when he was watching it that he'd been out that morning to his daughter, I think under 11's team or what have you, and he said they were more organised than Leicester City were. You know,
yeah.
I couldn't argue with him. I mean, the funny thing is, and just to say here, I mean, LCFC Gray says get Walsh and Matty Elliott. If you haven't seen it, get over to the Leicester Till I Die TV channel on YouTube. It's under latest shows. I've rearranged them a little bit to get another banner of shows in. But go under latest shows, and you'll see an interview I did last night with Tony Cotty. Lovely, lovely guy. His dinner was ready. He'd come straight off, funny enough, he come straight off doing the Leicester City website show and came on mine. And he and Walshy applied for the job when O'Neill left. Steve Walsh was going to be the manager and Tony Cotty was going to be the assistant manager. And instead we got Tater Peeler in. So who knows what could have happened. But it's a great show, great chat. Pop over there and do have a look at it if you're a Leicester fan. This one, a lot of people have criticised Ward's positioning. I'm not you're the perfect person, Goalkeepers Union. But that said, and obviously I'm going to let you talk us through it, it was a sweet free kick.
Yeah, first of all, it's a good free kick. But I don't know if we'll get the reverse angle of it here to show it from behind the goal. And that's why I'd like to pause it if possible. No. Not sure if we do, or does it go straight? Is that it?
No, it finishes, yeah.
It's going to be a little bit harder to do, but the one we can't obviously use, for obviously it's the Sky Sports one, I think it is. You got to see the replay of the goal from behind the goal. So you saw where Danny was starting. So if you take it back before the free kick's taken, if you can, Chris, I do apologise for this. It's just easy to say. Now, the thing is, it's more central, but it is slightly right of the goal, of the edge of the D, sorry. Now, the wall position's fine, and Danny Ward, what you can see there is it looks a bit weird, but actually what the wall is covering is the wall is covering Danny Ward's right side where the ball ends up, and Danny Ward is compensating for the other side, which he has to make sure he doesn't try and sneak it in the low corner that way. Problem is, there's a lot of things from Danny Ward there that is the option. I talked about it with one of the early goals, and that is he's just too rigid. He's too square on, and I'm not going to do my goalkeeping antics again, but please enjoy them if you're watching this back and whatever. But he's too square on, and he's probably about 5, 7, 8 yards too far over on that left. He needs to be shoulder there, I would say, at a worst. He needs to be shoulder to shoulder with the last line of his defence. He needs to be practically an extra man on that wall where he can see it perfectly. And he can do that even at half body, so only half of him, like that. Give it a lean around the wall so you can see it, you're just sure. And that way, if he's 5 or so yards, maybe 8's a bit drastic in terms of yards. But if he's 5, maybe even 5 yards is a bit drastic. I think about it. I keep forgetting how much that sounds. Big strides. He's a couple of big strides too far over on that side of the goal. And if he's over a bit more and he's a little bit more angled on and he's not so close to his goal line, I'm not saying he stops it, but he looks stupid there because he's always getting beat. You appreciate a goal more begrudgingly as an opposition fan if your keeper's got his position right, he's done everything he can, he's at full stretch, and he still gets nowhere near it or he can't do it. You go, yeah, fair play. At least you can't fault him. He did everything he could. And again, I'm not saying he saves the McAllister thing, and I'm not saying he would have saved it and wouldn't have changed anything. They still would have only just beat us 4-2 then. My point is, it's critical of the keeper because you're thinking, if he's doing that there, what's he going to do next week if Villa get a free kick? And if he's getting it wrong, right, with his positioning there, imagine if he'd have got fingertips on that from his incorrect positioning and his incorrect stance. That would have then told you as a fan that he's going to save that if he's a couple of more yards over and he's not so straight on. I'm just
going to try something here, mate. I'm going to take that, get rid of that for a second, and let me now. This may or may not make any difference at all, but who knows? Let's have a look at this here. So, let me just line it up. Here we go. Right, so we'll have a look and just see what this one is like. This may show it from a few different angles, to be honest with you. And maybe moving forward, we need to show the longer highlights, but, edit it if you like, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, because this is hard to explain without the...
Yeah.
It's harder
to... There you see, he's gone right over to the other post, hasn't he?
Yeah, that's in the development of sorting out his wall and making sure that they've covered all they can in terms of that, and they're not letting any...
Here we go, let's see, because I know... Yeah, so he is towards his left post there.
He's right over.
Which does leave him open looking at that.
I tell you what, as well, if people might remember a goal similar, but it was like opposite end. Cardiff playoff semi-final, Chris Wheel did exactly the same with a free kick, and I would looked at it. I remember looking at it then going, he'll put that in the near post. And he did exactly that because Chris Wheel in that goal was way too far over the side that he needed to, that was more open because of the wall. And Peter Whittingham bent it in over the wall and straight in the near post. It's not a carbon copy as such, but the same thing.
There we go. There we
see,
go.
as you can see, look at our wall. Look at, you can do it from there. So you see our wall, Johnny Evans. Look where Danny Ward is. Danny Ward is in the same data central as I believe James Maddison is. What you need from your keeper there, you see where the edge of the play button is? It's probably perfect. Danny Ward's right shoulder needs to be there. So Danny Ward needs to be left a bit with your cursor, mate. Can you know where the left side, as I'm looking at it? So, yeah, there. Danny Ward needs to be there. He needs to be a shadow of that extra man in the wall. That's exactly where he needs to be. And again, he can put himself a little bit over because he's not actually a part of the wall as a goalkeeper. So he could go a little bit in Johnny's up, have half of them protected by Johnny.
You have Maddison there, like you say, haven't you?
Yeah, he can't. Yeah, he doesn't need to be standing there. Madison and the player next to Madison has that responsibility covered. What he needs to be able to be. Moreover, if McAllister does try to go to his left side, he's got that covered. That's always a goalkeeper mistake. If the side you've got covered yourself and have a majority over, it's going to happen. And he should say that when it's over the wall, you cannot stand where Danny Ward's standing because you see that gap, don't you? Literally the daylight between Maddison.
Yeah.
And that's why when he makes the diving effort, it's pathetically bad because he's halfway down his goal instead of being springing like the top corner, which is what that extra stride over and being Johnny's extra defender. You see what I mean? Like you've got the wall. You kind of want Ward to be going right. If I was in the wall, now reversing back to goal. That's literally what you want Danny Ward's position to be. You want him to be in line with his defence, but in his goalkeeper position. You know what I mean? So have him there, standing. What would you say the distance is from him to be standing there? From there to a side that play button. A big stride, a big goalkeeping stride, isn't it? You consider it? He takes a big step over to his right. If he does that and angles his body a bit, left side's his problem, right? Right side, he's got a jumping wall. He's got a cluster of players. He's going to have less time to react to it. Because if McAllister tries to put it on the left of him, he's floating it. He's giving it height. He's going to have a clear line of vision. He's going to be able to spring to save it. which is why players try and put it, you know, with a bit more venom and drive like McAllister does, but into the opposite corner, he's got to use a lot of power, generate a lot of power to do that.
Yeah.
With Danny Ward's positioning, and if he's where he's supposed to be, again, I'm not saying he saves it, but he does it so much better. And it gives him more of a chance because the slightest fingertip, you never know.
No,
99 times out of 10, he still scores it. But if he's in a better position and he's angled better, there is always a chance that Danny Ward gets something on that and stops it. Doesn't change the outcome. We know that. But these are the things that Danny Ward, the individual, needs to be looking at with Mike Style and going, right, yeah, I've got you. I see that. Now, show him that, Mike Style. Show him that. And I'm sure Danny Ward himself will go, oh, fucking hell, yeah, I was overcautious. I was an extra yard over. I was dead straight. Why was I checking out Madison's shirt? I should have been looking at where the free kick table was.
This isn't you that's applied for this set piece coach job, and you're having problems with your visa, are you?
Well, no, I'd do it, mate. I'd just send this file to Brendan and say, have a listen to that, mate.
Yeah. Oh no, totally, mate. That is brilliant. Right, God, we're going up to the 2 hours. Fingers crossed that this will go out. We're not sure, obviously, with us using the footage there, but we'll find out straight away as soon as I come off it. I'll see you back at 9 o'clock.
You will, mate. You're not long without me, so yeah, there is that. Well,
this is true. Thursday night, have you got a show on your channel?
Yes, I do. Given the conjunctions and everything on, I'm actually going to do a Ask Me Anything special. What I normally do on a matter of opinion is I have a subject choice of matter that you don't want to give your opinions about. No opinion's right or wrong. It's just a show where you're allowed to voice your opinion. And what I wanted to do was always have a monthly segment. And because of conjunction of Thursday being a show and Manchester United and Leicester, I wasn't able to do back-to-back shows. So what I decided to do, since this is the first Thursday technically that I have a show to do that isn't a deadline day or something like that, is it's an Ask Me Anything show. So that'll be live at 8 o'clock. I do a show every Thursday at 8 o'clock, unless something like a Thursday game kicks off and I can't do it. But yeah, that's where you'll catch me.
I think you're safe with Thursday. We're not in Europe this season, mate.
Yeah. And I don't think I'll be changing next season unless Championship does Thursday night games.
Yeah, well, God, don't even go there. Thanks very much, Gray. That's glad you enjoyed it. So that's a matter of opinion on YouTube. The link is below on the YouTube description of this show. It is a matter of opinion. Give it a subscribe. It's a great show, great discussion channel. It really is. And at Full Time Focus, all one word, Full Time Focus, is Brad on Twitter.
That it certainly is. It certainly is, mate. Cheers for that.
And now you've said ask you anything, I have to tune in just to see what you get asked, because I think you might get one or two. I would say you might get one or two juicy ones, but that's probably for me, if I'm honest.
Yeah, and you know what I'm like, mate. I'm always good to be able to just use it to come up with an answer that probably annoys people at how I'm able to answer questions sometimes.
Yeah. Hey, thanks very much. That was a great show. I really enjoyed that, Brad. And I'll see you tonight at 9.
Yeah, no worries.
Of course, Mr. Linux, the ex-Fox.
Yeah, the prediction expert.
Yeah, I'm so glad he's back.
I bet you.
Can I just say, none of us have had a brilliant week, by the way. So there we go. Brad, I'll see you tonight at 9. Thanks a lot, mate.
See you later, mate.
Cheers. Thank you. Thanks to Brad there. He does those so excellently with the descriptions, the breakdowns or whatever. Absolutely brilliant. Didn't realize it was going to be this long, but hey, that's the sign of a good show, that you don't realise where the time has gone. Please, if you haven't already, we've actually lost one while the show's been going on, but please subscribe to this channel and smash the lights for us. I'm actually going to be back before the 9 o'clock show, which is the prediction show. Hopefully we're back at 7 o'clock with the review show, looking at all the weekend's games. I just need to sort out a new host for that, because unfortunately the host that I was doing it with isn't available. So I will say goodbye to you all. me and my friend there, and we will see you all tonight, hopefully at 7 o'clock. Take care, stay safe, and thanks for watching and listening.
That's all, folks.
Thanks for watching Leicester Till I Die. This is Chris saying goodbye, and see you next time.
This week's episode has come to an end, but the fun doesn't have to stop here. If you have any questions, suggestions or feedback, head over right now to Twitter and Facebook and like, share and get involved. Join us next time.
Thanks for watching. These videos are tremendous. You better like them too, or I'll be back.
Leicester Till I Die TV